Hello, guys, and welcome back to Global Amateurs Podcast, where we talk about international relations during the time of COVID-19 pandemic. So today is a really special episode because today is our final episode. So this is the grand finale of the Global Amateurs Podcast, and as the grand finale, we thought that we would like to close off this podcast by bringing upon here today. We have four amazing people with us today from different parts of the world. So let me introduce you guys to them. So first we have Gurvan from France. Hi, Gurvan.
Uh,
Hi. Okay, great. And then we have Ashyla from Indonesia.
Hi
Hi,
guys.
Ashyla. Hi. Okay. Next we have two representatives from Germany. We have first Alexandra. Hi, Alexandra.
Hello.
Hello, hi. Okay, and finally we have Lisa with us today.
Hello.
Yeah. So basically today it's gonna be a very easy peasy and very casual kind of podcast. So we're basically gonna be comparing our lifestyle during the COVID-19 pandemic, like what's happening in their country, and we want to know about that. And I think today's conversation is gonna be really interesting because I mean, we are getting literally first-hand account of their COVID-19 pandemic experience from France, from Germany, and from Indonesia. And we're going to compare all of that today in this episode. So let me give the floor to Reese so that she could ask the first question.
Hello, everyone. So basically, everyone know that our world is impacted by COVID-19. So basically, can you guys how is your COVID-19 situation or cases right now in your country? Basically, we can start with Gurvan.
okay, thanks for asking. So, current situation with COVID-19 in France is quite okay because the situation was very threatening by mid-April with an average of 60,000 new daily cases of COVID-19, and now cases are about 10,000 cases a day, and even more pessimist specialists assume that this tendency of a decrease is going to settle on a long time and a long period, and COVID-19 is going to step by step disappear in France, and this is largely due to strong vaccination campaigns that have been started since February, and first effects are going to be seen because 20, 23 million people have already received one dose of vaccines, and 10 millions have totally been vaccinated. So it is pretty good numbers, and it is the beginning of a general population vaccination in France. So this is very encouraging. And the second reason for this slowdown was the April to May third lockdown in France, and so it was not a very cohesive lockdown because people still could move in 10 kilometers areas, doing activities, going shopping, but it was more like a local restrictions movement than a very cohesive lockdowns that could be implemented by 2020 in France.
I see. It's quite familiar to Malaysia actually. So what about in Indonesia, Sheila?
Okay, so in Indonesia, the case is actually still, I don't know how to say it, like it's still in a high number, but currently there's no significant increase of the cases like that catch everyone's attention. So yeah, it's still going. There are positive people, but there's not significant increase in that because in Indonesia we don't really do a strict lockdown or anything during this pandemic. It's just the health protocols and limitations, I think.
What about in Germany?
In Germany at the moment, it's also getting really better. Germany was hit by the third waves in the last month, but since maybe like around 1 or 2 weeks, it's getting better in like the whole country, in every state in Germany. So we faced a really hard lockdown before, but now everything is slowly opening again.
I see. Are you, Alexandra and Lisa, staying at the same state?
Yes, we are doing. We are both in Constance, and it's near the Swiss border.
Oh, I see. All right. For the second one, I think I want to ask about. Can you guys share your experience during the lockdowns and also e-learning that we are having right now due to COVID-19 pandemic?
So maybe I first answering on lockdowns. I had very different, very different experiences from a lockdown to another. Because first lockdown was a very coercive one, and I merely stayed at home for 2 months, only ending out for doing shopping and for buying foods and uh, prior prior necessity stuffs. While the second lockdown, I fled with others um, others interns of the company I was working for, and we have gone to to Sweden. We went to Sweden, so it was like November 2020, and now the third lockdown. I've stayed at my place, and I move in my city to playing football, for hanging out with friends also. So it was not the same experience. Even I went to the mosque for preparing iftar for Ramadan. So there was a lot of activities that are non very important for the society, etc. That were still available on the third lockdown. And then about e-learnings, I'm quite yeah, it's very difficult. One year now since I didn't go to a classroom to study. It's very difficult, and even time difference, etc. I don't know. Maybe Lisa and Alexandra can speak about that, but time difference is very difficult. It's my second semester there, and I'm going really to to burning out.
Yeah, I see. E-learning is really hard, to be honest. So, what about your experience, Sheila?
Pandemic has been really challenging, especially for me, and I believe that everyone is also going through the same, like especially for us and new students or like you guys exchange students. It is hard because we have to adapt with not only new school but also with the new situation. Like we get to we have to find new friends through online, and it is very challenging because the connection would be very different from if we met face to face, right? And for the online school, it is also very challenging because the uh it's not like it's not like we're not studying at home, but it's more like we have more freedom and no one is looking out for us. So no one really know what you're doing during the classes, right? I think that's from me.
Yep, that's true. So, what about Alexandra?
Yeah, for me personally, the second lockdown or the lockdown like lately during the winter was harder than before, like last year, because yeah, during the summer it was easier because we could also like still meet outside, but during the winter it was really hard because all restaurants are closed. And yeah, I think during the winter time yeah, I think maybe everybody like who's in Europe can, yeah, they have the same experiences, that it's harder during the winter. And right now, yeah, regarding the online learning or regarding the semester at the moment, yeah, it's really, really sad for us that we cannot travel to Malaysia and not have the experience there, as already mentioned from Gurvan.
How about your experience, Lisa?
I agree to Alexandra. Like she said, the winter in Europe, especially here in Germany, was very hard because our lockdown in Germany, the third lockdown, was harder than the first or the second one. And because temperatures are so low, we couldn't go out. And over so many months, it was very, very challenging not to meet anyone and just staying at home when it's dark very early at 4 o'clock. And yes, that's quite challenging. Concerning e-learning, I think it works better than I thought before. But of course, the online courses are challenging because of the time shift, and not to make this experience, travel to another country and learn more about the culture, is very sad that we can't do this at the moment.
I also curious about your country's vaccination program, because in Malaysia, not even half of our population get the vaccine shot due to many factors. Most of them are scared because of the rumors about the vaccine content, such as it contains of microchips to track our location and data. Have you guys heard about it? And does this situation also apply to your country?
Um,
Gurvan? Yeah.
yeah, are you speaking about people that are scared by vaccines?
Yeah, like
Oh,
anti.
okay. Yeah. So indeed, there are some in France, and it used to be a problem because vaccines were first available to people in retirement house, then to the elder, and to people having comorbidity factor. I'm not sure the good is the word is good. And so some of these people, so people having comorbidity factor or being part of the elderly class of the population, decided not to get vaccinated, and like doses were in wait, while huge part of the population was not already vaccinated. So it created huge debate, and I believe European Union answer to this phenomenon is the vaccinal passport, the European vaccinal passport. So it is a passport that make people able to travel within the European Union with this vaccinal passport, and also to go on events with this vaccinal passport. For example, if you want to see a football game, you will have to get this passport by, I think it is July or August, the time that it will be implemented.
I see. Is it the same situation happen in your country, Ashyla?
I'm not really sure about the percentage of the people vaccinated in here, but in my country, they still focusing on the elders, and also I think some of employee are getting vaccine from their company. And about the rumors, yeah, it do spread here. Like before the government actually doing the vaccine, many people make I don't know, like wild speculation about the vaccine, like thinking that there's a chip or like this is something that could kill you or anything. But now, as I see the people get vaccinated, I think people are begin to realize that this is like the least we can do to try to press down the spread of the virus, right? Like, yeah.
What about in Germany?
Yeah, in Germany we still have some like strict rules or like a process how people get vaccinated. So it was first old people are really the oldest, and then they lowered the age, and also like for people who have a higher risk, or for example who work in hospitals or schools, they were allowed to get vaccinations first. But next month, it will be open for everybody. So at the moment, a lot of people are trying to get an appointment for the vaccination, but we also have a lot of people who are scared, or we also have a lot of rumors in Germany. So I think Lisa can also add something to that.
Yep, I see. All right. Do you have anything to add on about this situation, Lisa?
Yes, maybe at the beginning we had a lot of problems with the vaccination because there wasn't enough vaccine for everyone. So it started very slowly. But at the moment we have around 40% who have received the vaccination once, and around 15% who have received it twice. And as Alexandra said, there are a lot of people who are skeptical in Germany, but at the moment the vaccination progress is making great steps forward, I think.
Thank you for the answers, everyone. I will pass the floor back to Haikal. Thank you.
Um, you know, hearing all of you guys sharing you guys' experience about like vaccination, I mean, it's kind of interesting because everywhere it's kind of the same. You still have those anti-vaxxers and everything. Um, it's kind of interesting, but I want to know, like, maybe this question is maybe for Rovan, Alexandra, and Lisa only, because I'm going to talk about the EU right now, because I am actually interested just now when Gurvan said he went to Sweden, if I'm not mistaken. So I want to know, in the European Union itself, in particularly the Schengen area, how was the border control implemented back during the first stage of COVID, or even now?
Or do you, Alexandra, Lisa, want to start on this matter?
Yeah, I can start. Like just a personal experience because my brother is working in Austria. And normally it's really, really easy to travel to Austria. We just cross the border and normally no one is controlling it. But during the hard lockdown during the winter months, it was not possible to cross the border. So we couldn't meet also for Christmas and these things, because otherwise we would have like a really long time of quarantine in both countries. And regarding the work, yeah, or regarding working and these things, it wasn't possible. So there were some times where the borders were really closed, or I think the last month was yeah, you needed a lot of tests, and then you had to do like, for example, if I would go to Austria, I had to do like at least 5 days or sometimes even 14 days of quarantine first. And then when I had wanted to come back to Germany, I had to do it also 2 weeks. So it was almost not possible to cross borders.
Okay. Uh, and so about my own experience, I believe it is more about temporalities, because like for example, France and Germany had closed no, they haven't closed borders, but they have put in controls on their borders, but not for so long, like for 3 weeks or 1 month. And so it depends really about the temporality, because it depends of um, of national government's decision about the border control. Just, I believe that currently every country in the EU are accessible from another country of the EU. It is more about like EU closed its borders for a while to the rest of the world and decided to keep circulation of people while this circulation is not the same as normal within Schengen and EU borders. And about Sweden, I've been in Sweden because Sweden has a very different strategy about COVID-19, and they at time they decided to accept everyone, even if they haven't did like a PCR test for COVID-19. And so that's why I came to Sweden. But other destination, I believe it is more about you have to be tested or you have to be vaccinated, and it is quite difficult for this reason.
Yes, also for me it was very new, the situation, as we normally can cross the border so easily. Even when we go to Switzerland, which is very close to Constance, it's very easy. And during the first lockdown, it was so difficult because everyone was controlled at the borders, and usually this not happens. So it was quite difficult because here in this area, we have some people who live in Switzerland and other family members live in Germany, and they couldn't see each other for weeks because of this lockdown, although there were just a few kilometers between them. And yes, I hope something like this doesn't happen again.
I see that is really interesting because we've always known that in Europe, in EU, for instance, the border has always been basically non-existent between Schengen area in this Schengen area at least. So I want to know, like, this one is for all of you. So Ashyla, you can also answer this one. Has travel returned to normalcy in your country? And if so, can you kind of describe the policy a bit?
Regarding intern movement and travel, it is quite being normal. For example, railroad, railways are controlled by a national-owned company, which is SNCF, Société Nationale du Chemin de Fer, and SNCF is going to operate lines at a normal pace. So there were slowdowns of the trains during COVID period, but they're going to they're going to realize as much daily rides that they have done by the past. So it is good news regarding national situation, but regarding international travels, it isn't the same. As I said, it is possible to go everywhere in Europe, but you have to be controlled, of you have to get vaccine, of you have to done a PCR test, of you're going to be put in quarantine when you're going to the country. But travel is possible. Travel isn't possible, however, when you want to go outside the EU borders. It is more about bilateral relations from your national state and the state you want to go in. For example, I have a few friends that are Algerian and Moroccan, and they still can't move to Algeria or Morocco because Algeria and Morocco didn't decide yet to open their land to French travelers.
I see. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, that is kind of interesting, Gurvan. So, how about in Indonesia, Sheila?
So in Indonesia, for domestic travel, depends on where you're going. I think for if you're going within the island, for example, I'm living in Jakarta. If I'm going to Bandung, which is around 120 kilos from here, it's very possible, especially when using private and land transportation. There's no such uh, checkers for the test result or anything, but it is different case if you're going by, for example, by train. You would be required to give them the test result to show that you're negative. And it is also a different case if you're going across the island. It was gonna be by plane, and most of them requires the test result also. And but it's still possible to go around domestically. Like you don't have to go through quarantine if you're flying domestically. For example, like a lot of people here going to Bali recently because yeah, they fulfill the requirements. But it's a different thing if you fly internationally. We're allowed to go out, but it really depends on which countries, because there are many countries who really close their borders. For example, Australia is completely closing the borders, right? So it is really depends. Many people flies to Turkey, I think, because they don't even requires quarantine for travelers, but many other countries have their specific policy for that.
I see. So, how about in Germany, Alexandra?
In Germany, we can also travel easily within the country, so we don't need a test if we would like to take the train or the bus. But normally we also have a bus company who is like, yeah, who's driving from the biggest cities in Germany to others, and this is not operating at the moment. So if we would like to travel, the best option would be with the train, or yeah, airplane is also possible. But I think if you want to take the airplane, you need a test first, but not for the train.
Do you have anything else to add more to that, Lisa?
No, I don't have.
I see. So, yeah, it's quite impressive how every country is taking a very different measure, but in a way, most of the countries, at least among you guys, most of your countries has, um, kind of regulated travel to be less stricter than it was back then. However, here in Malaysia, it has been, really strict, and there has been a lot of controversy about people traveling across the border between states, and yeah, it is really strict here right now because of the astronomical amount of cases. Um, I guess that's all from me. I'm gonna now pass the floor to Aini to ask her questions.
Hello. Um, I have two questions to ask, but the scope of my question will be focused on Germany and Indonesia only. My first question is, from what I know from the media, Germany has been praised by international community in preventing COVID-19 by mid 2020, but Germany remained under lockdown for more than 6 months. How does Germany, a country known for its performance, can lose control of the COVID-19? You can start first, Alexandra.
Yes. Do you mean, can I like repeat your question if I understood it correctly? Do you mean that how Germany did perform, or that Germany didn't perform that well as you expected? Or because I didn't really understand your question, sorry.
My question is, at first, Germany has been praised by the international community because has the great performance for preventing COVID-19. But Germany uh, had to do lockdown
more than 6 months. How about your opinions about that? How can Germany, the full of performance country, can lose control to prevent the COVID-19?
Mm, yeah, in my opinion, it was due to the winter months. That's why we lost the control about, or like lost the control a little bit about yeah, the cases, because after the first wave it was really better in Germany, and then during the summer months of 2020 it was really good. That's maybe why people, yeah, had too much freedom, or that's why a lot of people thought that it's already over. But then Germany was hit really hard by the second and also by the third wave. And because it was cold, and not summer anymore, it was really harder than before. Is that what you mean?
Yes. Thank you for your explanations. Lisa, do you have something to add from your view?
That's a tough question. Yes, it's right that Germany was seen to do a great performance during the first wave. But as Alexandra said, during the second and also the third wave, we had a lot of elderly people who infected and got sick and died of it. And that was really sad. That it was so difficult to protect, especially old ones in the second and the third wave. And yes, since temperatures are getting higher, the situation is getting better. And also we had a very slow start with vaccination. And I think this also contributed to the fact that it took quite long until we could leave the third lockdown.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have one more questions, and my question is for Ashyla.
Yes.
According to ADB Focus Indonesia poverty rate has increased to 12.8% in 2020, which the year of COVID-19 rise in Indonesia. Will Indonesia poor survive to face the COVID-19 challenge?
Sorry, can you repeat the last sentence?
Can Indonesia survive to face the COVID-19 challenge, especially for the poor people?
I see. I believe it is strongly related, the increased poverty with the COVID-19, as we all know that this pandemic also caused many unemployment in Indonesia. And for success, no one knows about that, but I think we are trying our best, like the government, the people, trying our best to actually find a way to survive this, just like other countries. If that answer your question.
Okay, I think that does answer Ainie's question. So, seeing the time now, it's already 7:42 here in Malaysia, and yeah, unfortunately, we have came to an end. It has been so great talking with all of you guys. It was so wonderful to know all of this firsthand account. You can't just search this up on the internet. You have to have like someone who can speak about all of this, and it has been such a wonder. And I do know that the audience is really gonna love all of this content. So with that being said, thank you so much again, Gurvan, Alexandra, Lisa, Sheila, for being here today, for being able to, share all of these wonderful insights about your country's experience with COVID-19. And with that, thank you so much.
Also,
today is a little bit different from our previous episode because today is the last episode of our podcast. We are quite emotional to record this part because we have gone through a lot during this podcast as a team of Global Amateurs. Believe it or not, we have to come to the end.
But before we end this series, let's take a look back and briefly recap all of the episodes that we've put out so far. We started off the series with an in-depth discussion on vaccine inequality. In the first episode, we discussed about how richer countries are hoarding the global vaccine supplies, leaving the poorer countries vulnerable to a lengthier fight against the pandemic. On our second episode, we talked about COVID-19 in Syria. We went on length talking about pandemic management in a country that has been torn by a civil war in the past decade, where healthcare facilities are limited due to the circumstance. Following that, we have our first guest podcast episode where we have the opportunity to talk with Mr. Muslim Imran, where we discussed about the Israeli-Palestinian conflicts from a COVID-19 perspective. On our fourth episode, we touched on vaccine diplomacy around the world. We discussed about why our countries participating in vaccine diplomacy and the rationale of doing so. Our fifth episode is another guest podcast, where Mr. Iwan Kurniawan shared with us regarding the COVID-19 situation in South America and how it affects the local political scene there. And finally, in our last episode, we decided to end the series on a casual note where we invited 4 fellow students from France, Germany, and Indonesia to give us first-hand accounts of their COVID-19 experience and how did their countries handle the pandemic.
We hope that this podcast helps you to gain more information regarding the COVID-19 pandemic and how it affects international relations in the current global society, and as well as raising your awareness regarding the global political and diplomatic environment. We highly hope that this podcast works as an eye-opener for you to understand better about international relations.
We also would like to thank all of you for being part of the Global Amateurs podcast journey. We just want to express how much we appreciate your efforts and times. Your support and encouragement have always been the driving throughout the Global Amateurs podcast. We highly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for trusting and believing in us to deliver information and messages regarding COVID-19 and diplomacy. There's a lot of choices out there, but you single us out and that's mean a lot. After all, we are not professionals, we are global amateurs.